Okay, so here we go. Ready? Start.
Sometimes a champion isn't the one with the most points. It's the one who's the most pointless.
Okay, go. Okay, so anyway, the reason that's funny to me mostly is because I did something like that as a boy. I didn't have YouTube in those days, or you would have seen it, and it narrowly avoided being tragic. We had a swim raft, and we had a dive platform on the swim raft. So we pull it up out of the lake, and it's about 4 feet out or 3 feet off the ground because of the big barrels. They're now up in the air, and the dive platform was another 3 or 4 feet above the raft. It was a pretty big raft, and there was a big snowdrift in the winter, and I thought, that snowdrift is pretty soft. I could just dive into it. So I climbed up on the dive platform and dove headfirst into this big snowdrift. And I quickly realized that my arms were pinned to my sides into the snowdrift, and my legs were sticking out, and I couldn't breathe. And I thought, we learned in scuba diving training, if you're gonna be in an emergency situation, you have to make a decision, and you have to make it fast. And so I started wiggling my legs, sticking out of the snowdrift, wiggling them back and forth like that until I loosened myself up enough that I could get a breath of air and not die. Otherwise, you wouldn't have this program today. So sometimes the sports heroes are unsung and win a Darwin Award. Anyway, there's a whole genre of these videos that I'm not going to show you about people trying to dive into pools or people standing in pools while trying to break the ice and see what happens, which actually puts them in the water, and a whole bunch of those. But I just thought, it's fun. Marketing is fun. Sometimes marketing is fun. And, that is not the first time someone's dove into snow. It's kind of a thing in the northern countries. So marketing is fun, and that will not make you a great sports hero, although there's a whole therapy around ice baths and rolling in snow and all that. So it may be good for you. Seems like people think it is. And on that note, just to reiterate, let's get over to the more serious stuff, okay, which isn't as much fun. The first one I thought was interesting by Matt Hines was in B2B, and he talks about, and this is something I argued for back in the 80s when we were all about key codes in the direct marketing business, and we were all about cataloging, and we would mail out a catalog to a business-to-business prospect, a big company, and we get a big order. And everybody would say, well, what's the key code? But by then we were doing what we called integrated marketing, which I think later became Tom Siebel's CRM. My argument goes like this. We did it for Amoco Oil, then we did it for Deluxe Check in Minneapolis, then we did it for 3M, and then we did it for Hewlett Packard, where Tom was, and a couple of years later he came out with that and made $1 billion. I had left the company by then, but they kept promoting it for a long time. But anyway, the point is that we would have a team approach. We would tailor the contact strategy to the potential of the either the customer or the prospect. The customer to get reorders, the prospect to get an order. And so we would, on small accounts, we would probably mail them a catalog once a month. On medium size, we would mail them, and we would call them maybe once a quarter and see if they had interest, see whether we were mailing them to the right place. Because in one case, 3 cases, we were calling, we would not hear from somebody for 3 or 4 years, and it turned out that the person's job had changed. We were mailing to that person, and we found out that just putting a title slug would often help because the mailroom would send it to the right person, whereas the right job function rather than the right person. The right person would throw it in the trash. I told one client, Garin Products, I said, why don't you look up who hasn't bought of your top 1% last year? Who hasn't bought in the first quarter of this year? And they said, well, we don't have a phone out. And I said, well, why don't you call them? It's only a few hundred people. And so they did, and they found out that the vast majority just had changed job titles, and there was a new person, and it instantly way paid for the consulting and got them on a very good growth path. Always love the 800 calls. I should keep the phone handier. So this article argues that attribution isn't, last touch, key code, all that isn't the most thing, but it is an important thing. You have to keep an eye on ultimately the sales, the actual sales. So you have to retool this every couple of months, every 6 months or a year. And but ultimately, a combined revenue team, sales, marketing, customer success, and don't get too concerned about who's doing the most work. What you want to do is you want to keep that in perspective. There's a great system called The Machine by Justin Rolf Marsh, and he's got a lot of videos that are free. I encourage you to go look him up, The Machine, and you can get a really good idea of how to build that and how to get your salespeople out making FaceTime calls rather than spending a lot of time at the desk, which is what most salespeople do because that's the way we have oriented the attribution. Here's an article about the ad industry says half have no plans for AI, and it wasn't all that interesting except that AI is decentralized. It could be the chief technology officer, it could be the information officer, it could be a lot of people handling marketing tech. Big budget brands are pioneering the AI for marketing, but most advertisers don't have the resources, so they're focusing on more immediate marketing efforts. And so the suggestion of the article, which I think is a good one, is simple, efficient ways to take advantage of AI technology. And there's two more articles that I'm not going to get to, but basically they say walk before you run. And because of that, we've been offering this AI ROI guaranteed in 90 days. And I put the truth is that most people aren't thinking AI can help them. And so what we're doing is we're saying, okay, well, it is difficult to make AI pay, but in the walk before you run manner or method, what we're going to do is we're going to take what you're doing now for customer segmentation. This is primarily aimed at people who already do customer segmentation with some methodology. It could be modeling. It could be RFM. There's a lot of e-commerce people that aren't doing much of anything. They just blast it out. We can help with that too. We can execute a basic RFM and show you what that would do, and we can compare that with nothing. We could do a uniques test, a three-way, and show you what no segmentation, some segmentation, good segmentation can benefit you. And what we're seeing tremendous payback, not only on the AI, the cost of implementation, but also in the insights that it can give. And fundamentally, we find more people that are worth talking to down in the bowels. The reason AI works is it lets you test faster, and it lets you figure out the almost dead people. And it does it in very interesting ways that change from month to month. And so in one of the latest tests, we found about, let's see, I'm trying to think of the percentage in my head. We found about 30% more profitable names than the RFM method did. And that's real money. If we can make your mailing go deeper, then we can increase your sales for overhead, and the margin per order was quite a bit better. It was actually like over 150% better. So we'll end it here because I'm trying to keep these things shorter, but I wanted you to have some fun, and I wanted you to think, keep it simple on the AI. AI is a good article at the end here. that I was deep diving into. A data scientist was trying to do a teaching bot, and she wanted it to be assertive, so she used rap music lyrics as one testing data set, and she got a foul-mouthed, racist, crazy bot. And so then she decided to go for more polite, and she, with the same AI formulas and methodology, she got a very lyrical, polite Shakespearean bot. And it was all about the data. And so what you want to do is you want to get solid data, and you want to do something you can understand. And that's the key to success in AI and the key to getting started. Have a great day. I'm John Miglosh. Like and share. Your friends will think you're smart.